Hi everyone, welcome to Sandra's Bible Tales. I left off with the whole Abraham and Sarah, and I'm going to continue there. And I'm going to continue in Genesis 16, where it says that Abraham's wife had borne him no children, and because of this, and she knew that God had promised Abraham a child, and she was of old age, she tells Abraham, look, there is my maidservant Hagar. Go ahead and sleep with her. I will let you sleep with her, and maybe we can have a child through her. And Abraham does this. He listens to his wife. He sleeps with Hagar. Hagar gets pregnant. But when Hagar gets pregnant, she starts looking at her mistress with contempt. And Sarah doesn't like that. So Sarah goes back to Abraham and says, look, now because of you, look how Hagar is looking at me. And first of all, she's the one that told him to do it. Now she's blaming him. But he says, you know what? That's your servant. Deal with her however you want. So Sarah deals with her harshly. And Hagar escapes. She leaves. When she leaves, the angel finds her, and the angel says, what are you doing? And she says, I'm running away from my mistress. And the angel says, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Okay? Submit to her and obey her. You're going to have a son. You're going to name him Ishmael. And then he prophesies about the boy's life. Okay, after all of this happens, then when Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him, and he tells him about the covenant. Remember, I had spoken about the covenant that God said that every male that was in Abraham's family, the way that they would know that they would have a covenant with God is when they would be circumcised. So that would be the difference between the men of the covenant with God and the men that did not have a covenant with God. Okay. And then in Genesis 17, Genesis 17:15, God also tells Abraham how he wants to change the name of Sarah to princess. He says, and God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah, princess. And I will bless her, and you will have a son by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall come from her. So again, we see how God tells Abraham, I'm going to bless your wife. So it's like saying, Abraham, you went ahead of me and you did whatever you thought was good, and you thought maybe that it was too hard for me to give you a son, so you went and you slept with a maidservant. But Ishmael, that's not the promise. I'm going to give you the promise, boy. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we try to get ahead of God because we're like, how is this going to happen? And we try to help God. God doesn't need help. So then in Genesis 18, okay, Genesis 18, now the Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks, and God appears to Abraham, and God appears to Abraham with two angels. So it's God and two angels. And Abraham says, please, Lord, stay. Let me bring water so you can wash your feet. Let me bring you bread. Let me bring you this. Let me bring you that. And God says, okay, fine, do all of that. And God starts having a conversation with Abraham. And God again repeats to him, look, I'm going to give your Sarah a son. And Sarah overhears. And she starts laughing. Now, he didn't see her laughing in the physical because she was not there in front of them where they were having a conversation. But God knew she had laughed. So God tells Abraham, why did she laugh? And when later on, when Abraham confronts her, she out of fear, she says, no, I didn't laugh. But she had laughed. And the reason she laughed is because she was like, am I really going to have a son at this old age? But God says in Genesis 18:14, it says, is anything too hard or too wonderful for the Lord? So there's nothing impossible for God. So God says, even if you're 90 years old, even if you're 100 years old, there's nothing impossible for me. Even if you're missing a uterus, I can give you a new uterus. Like, he is like, there is nothing, there's no limits. I can do the impossible type thing, which is true. So then in Genesis 18:17, God says to Abraham, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm going to do? He says, since I have chosen Abraham. He says, am I going to hide from my friend what I'm about to do? And he tells Abraham, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go where your nephew lives, where Lot lives, and I'm going to destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah because their wickedness is too great and it has come before me. And Abraham says, well, if there's 50 righteous men there, would you still destroy the land, city Sodom and Gomorrah? And God says, no, if there's 50 righteous men, on their sake, I will not destroy it. But there wasn't 50 righteous men. So then Abraham again goes and he intercedes and he says, Lord, if there's 40 righteous men. And God says, yeah, if there would be 40 righteous men, I wouldn't destroy it. However, there's not 40 righteous men. And he continues to go down in number until finally the deal is they're going to destroy it because there is no righteous men. So Abraham intercedes for Lot. Now God is going to he's gonna save Lot. He's the one that wasn't participating in all that sinfulness stuff. Now the two angels go ahead of the Lord and they go to Sodom and Gomorrah, and when they knock on Lot's door, Lot tells them to come in, and he tells them, please stay. And then the angels were like, no, we're gonna stay over there. And he's like, please, I beg of you, stay. The angels say, okay. They're having a conversation with Lot, and now listen what it says in Genesis 19:4. But before they lay down, the men of the city of Sodom, both young and old, all the men from every quarter, surrounded the house, and they caught Lot and said, "Where are the men who came tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them intimately." So they wanted to have orgies with this man, and they wanted to be men with men. And Lot went out of the door to the men and shut the door after him and said, "I beg of you, my brothers, do not behave so wickedly. Now look, I have 2 daughters who are virgins. Let me, I beg of you, bring them to you, and you can do with them as you please, but only do nothing to these men, for they have come under my protection and my roof." Now, Lot knew that these men were not interested in his daughters. It's not that he offered them that he's a horrible father. He knew that these men had no interest in his daughters. Now the men got so mad that they said, "Stand back. Who do you think you are? You just came here. You think you're our judge? Now we're going to deal worse with you." Like saying, they were threatening him like saying, "Now we're going to rape you." And when he said this, it says that the angels took Lot, pushed him in, closed the door, and struck the men that were trying to come against Lot with blindness, so that they had to shriek to look for the door. And then the angel said, "Look, hurry. If there's any other family member, if there's anyone that you know, any other sons, anything like that, let them know we're going to destroy the city." So Lot hurries and tells the men that were going to marry his daughters, which would have been his sons-in-law. He tells them, "Look, God is going to destroy the city. Let's go." And the sons, they think it's a joke, because really, if I tell you right now, "Hey, God says he's going to destroy, Miami, I don't know, Florida, get out of here," most people are not going to believe it. They're going to think it's a joke, which is what happened with these men. So they didn't believe it. They stayed. The next morning, the angel said, "Hurry, Lot, get out of here, run, leave, because we're about to destroy this, and we're waiting for you. We're only waiting for you to get out of here, so go this way." And Lot says, "Look, can I go over there?" And the angel said, "Fine, we won't destroy that part. Go there now." The angel said, "But do not look back, whatever you do. Don't any of you look back." Now, when they're leaving, guess who decides to look back? Lot's wife, because since she saw that they were leaving so many